Some days you're thriving, other days you're hiding in the bathroom, Googling how to parent without losing your soul. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. This is where self-care is always on clearance. Emotional regulation is a team sport, and every meltdown, yours or your kids, is just another chance to grow. Welcome to Bargain Brand Wellness, where love is full price, the advice is off-brand, and the effort is, well, deeply discounted. We're your certified wellness warriors, talking real life, real struggle, and real connection. Tonight we're diving into parenting, not the Pinterest kind, but the why is my child licking the wall kind. Let's get into it. Stephen Twig, let's effing go. Thanks for being here, buddy. Happy to be here. This is our first stream on YouTube. Right, we've been doing Facebook thus far. Hopefully we can pull some of our Facebook friends over to our wellness time on YouTube. Looking to have a good time. We're going to get some vibes going in the background while we're at it. Just a little low vibe, high vibes, depending on how you want to look at it. Nice day today. Warmed up a little bit outside. Started to reach the upper 50s. Warmed up slightly, right? Sun was out. Not quite as bad as it was before. But we'll definitely take it. How's your day, Steven? Staying out of trouble? My on-air light needs turned on. Thank you, Stephen Twig, for... I can't believe I totally forget. I never forget that. For that, once we unlock memberships, you'll get 1 month free membership for reminding me that. Don't forget. You know, and you got proof now it's being recorded. Damn, I can't believe I forgot to turn that on. It's a good thing I'm not in my underwear, huh? Who knows, I might get extra views for that one. What, is 1 month not good enough? You want 2 months? I give you 2 months. Now we're a ways away from any type of membership, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm hopeful as we try to find our place amongst the stars, you know, between Facebook, YouTube, or any of the other platforms we plan to use, we can kind of find that place. I'm hopeful at some point to be able to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. There's a slight delay when you do that, so we'll have to, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on it. I don't really know what the recipe is for that. I mean, I know those professional streamers, they try different platforms, but I think most of them don't, they don't utilize the same platform at, multiple platforms at the same time. But we'll check it out. We'll see what we can figure out, see what we can get working. That's great. The glasses are fire. I do like these glasses. One of my Temu purchases. I'm not as addicted as Jake, but I do purchase from time to time. I really like these ones. I have a bunch of different glasses. Some you may, if you ever watched any episodes from our previous show, RIP, you should have seen some of them. Some of them I still haven't worn yet. Just trying to find the vibe to go with it. I struggle to I don't want to overdo it, so I struggle to kind of jump back and forth between the glasses, some of my hats, as well as my different shirts that I might wear. I don't want to do too much at one time, but the idea is that we're having a good time over here, but we're also still being serious, kind of that balance. Joseph Twig, I knew you wouldn't let me down. Stopping on over. Thanks for being here, buddy. Excited to get into wonderful world of raising our tiny little humans. We're going to jump into our first segment here in just a moment. But we are excited to be on YouTube for our first live. We'll more than likely be live on Friday. In fact, we will be live on Friday. Let me just put that out there. We will be live on Friday. Same time. Haven't quite figured out the place yet. I don't know if it's too early to go ahead and maybe do a TikTok live. See what happens. We have Twitch, but not 100% sure when I might do that one. I don't know. It's kind of trial and error at this point. I know consistency is key when you do these kind of things, but trying to find that vibe that we can do. Most people have smartphones nowadays, so there's an app for everything, right? You can always just join that way. Facebook is an easy place to share. I agree. I mean, I have that Facebook group set up there. I kind of link everything there. I don't know if Facebook Live is the answer, though. That's kind of where I'm at, though. Like, I'm trying to think. In fact, Joey was even telling me about, what was it, Kick? Which I've heard of, but I don't know much about. I've never been on it. There's so many different platforms to use, and it's like you want to try different things. But you also don't want to mess up your consistency piece. I think that's the hard part. Your sunglasses look like you're giving Dwayne The Rock Johnson eyebrow raise. Ooh, I like that. That's a good one. I never thought of them like that. I just thought they were really, when we did the other show, it always messed with McDermott because it's like, I can't look at you. One eye is, he goes, it's not even that the big one's bothering me. It's not symmetrical. And he struggled to say the word symmetrical, mind you. All right. All right, so we're getting ready to get into our first topic here. Just as we've done in our previous live streams, I'm kind of recording those. They're roughly 4 to 5 minute clips. So I won't really be kind of interacting with chat during those, but feel free to kind of chat based off of what we're talking about within those. And then once I kind of finish recording that piece, we'll kind of talk about it. This is supposed to be a show. I mean, it's a live stream, but because I'm not gaming, I just don't have the time to really game. We're more, just kind of talking. So it's like a recorded show, but it's live at the same time. Sure, if we ever kind of blow up, I probably wouldn't be able to interact with chat quite as much. Not every single chat, but that's down the road. All right. All right, so let's get into this. Oops. I need to click on this one. Here we go. So your kid is following you around the house like a lost puppy, asking 473 questions and constantly interrupting you. Annoying, yes. A cry for connection, also yes. If your kid is stuck to your hip like a Siamese twin, they're not trying to bug you. They're showing you they're low on connection fuel. Their emotional cup is empty. Short bursts of focused attention, even 2 to 3 minutes, can fill their tank. Instead of telling them to go play, try, let's build a Lego tower taller than your attitude. Then bail once they're engaged. It's all about getting them engaged. Interruptions aren't always rude. They're like emotional gun or flare guns. Your kid's asking, hey, am I still important if you're talking to grandma, a Zoom call, or maybe your alcoholic beverage of choice? Brief, meaningful acknowledgement works. A hand squeeze, eye contact, a simple I see you, give me 2 minutes. Talk about how consistency calms their nervous system even more than those long conversations. A kid barking orders like a tiny dictator, they're not trying to rule the world, they're just trying to feel safe in it. When kids feel powerless, they control what they can, their food, their clothes, you. Offer safe choices. Do what you want, red socks or blue socks. Boom, power shared. Tantrum avoided. Your child just leveled up emotionally. Now they need to know you're still on their team. Right? Milestones, right? Potty training, going to school, make them see more connection, not less. Reframe clinginess as their version of, please don't upgrade me to a new model, or don't you change either. And aggression. Aggression isn't always rebellion. It's the emotional equivalent of a smoke alarm. Loud, annoying, but warning you something's not right. They're often saying, I'm not scared. I feel out of control. Or, please help me. Anger is a shield. So instead of shutting it down, lean in with calm curiosity. Most of the time, your kid isn't trying to push you away. They're trying to see if you'll stay, even when they're being a little hard to love. Connection isn't just hugs and crafts. It's staying present during meltdowns too. Correcting a behavior without understanding the need behind it is like trying to fix a leaky faucet with glitter glue. It might look like you're doing something, but it won't hold up. Why pay full price for self-care? Bargain Brand Wellness has got you covered. All right, that's the first little segment there. Hello, Danny G. I love the G part. I love that you stayed true to that. Thank you all for being here. Right, today's stream is on, as you know by the title, is raising tiny humans without losing your mind. We've all been there, and honestly, I mean, we're kind of talking young kids, but this kind of applies to even teenagers as well. I'm going to kind of get into that a little bit as we kind of go through my experience dealing with teenagers. I know most, if not all of us who are here on the live right now have experienced dealing with teenagers in our own way, whether it be professional, personal, or both. Good. It's the best I could come up with. LOL. Listen, it fits. Danny G. I like it. I wasn't being a hater. How's the music? The background music, is it too loud, too low, off brand and on point? Bing, 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 ding. No, it's fine. Cool. I know the other night when I was on, they said it was a little loud at one point. I thought I had it turned down. How does my radio voice sound? When I really add the bass in, it kind of lowers my voice. Can't really help it. Drinking my nightly chamomile tea here. Kind of helps get you ready for Betty Bye. Having fun. I don't drink it every night. I do drink it most nights. You need to work on your radio voice. I don't know. I've been given credit sometimes. Maybe I'm trying too hard. Maybe that's it. All right. So we definitely talked about parenting, right? Especially, we talk about how your kids need connection, not correction. This is based off of a short little video I saw the other day on TikTok. It's not saying that kids don't need discipline. It's really not. It's just that I think sometimes when we think discipline, we also think punishment. And while the two can go hand in hand, they don't always. We talk about, and honestly, I learned this one through therapy. We talk about, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Okay, give it to them. I mean, and really, I had to think about this for a long time. Like, a kid doing something for attention, whether it's they're 7, 8, 13, 14, whatever it might be, they want your attention. I mean, ask yourself. I mean, I think, Danny, I think you're the only one in here now. But, if anybody's watching this later on, why do we paint attention as such a bad thing? I think for me, that was where my real mind shift happened. Probably about 3 years ago. I started thinking about that short little bits of attention. Even when I'm not in the mood, what is so wrong with that? And when it comes to kids, some kids it's easier with. I'm not gonna lie to you. Right? Again, personally, or professionally, or both. Right? I do this thing with my kids. It's called the matter, Daddy. I'll bite. What's the matter, Daddy? That was a good one, Joe. I almost said it too. I almost said it as if I was like really like into it. I thought you were sharing something really good. That's funny. That was a good one. It's quality time, right? Is what we're talking about when we talk about kids need connection. I know, for myself, in all honesty, that's I don't want to say I struggle to find connection, but depending on the child, sometimes finding that thing to do to try to find that connection, that can be difficult. And honestly, sometimes it's just really just being present, right? When I think of my little ones, there's some of them that it's easy to find stuff to do with. Anything will please them. And one of my little ones is so engulfed in Fortnite, that's all he really wants to do. So for me, and I don't get to do it often because, as I've said before, I do not have a lot of time to play video games. Sometimes that connection is through Fortnite, a game that I'm not a big fan of. Never really played all that much. If anybody's ever played with me knows I'm not very good at the game. I know poor Joey's been trying to get me to play. Joey, one of these days you just gotta let me know when. I'll squat up with you. You're carrying me the whole way because I don't know how to build. So I'm just letting you know that ahead of time. But I'll play with you. I need to connect with my coworkers as well. And it's not even, and I know this is kind of off topic a little bit. It's not even that I think Fortnite is a terrible game. I think it's a brilliant idea. I remember when it first came out, I loved the cartoony feel to it. It appealed more to me than like Call of Duty or any of those other types of games. I just didn't like that you didn't get to keep anything. Every match, you had to go find new guns and whatnot. Oh man, I was a couple minutes behind and wasn't live. Did you see my comment? Yeah, I commented about. You almost got me. I'm not gonna lie. You almost got me. If you hadn't capitalized the matter, Daddy, you probably would have got me. I thought you were super delayed. No. There's actually not much of a delay here. I think it's like less than 10 seconds with this. It's not as bad as what it was over on Facebook, which I do like. Yeah. And then the other thing with Fortnite, the skins. I know that I've heard Danny and his buddies talk about it. Joey, I'm sure you and your buddies have also done. I've heard about how much you all have spent on Fortnite on skins. And I'm not judging, but it's a lot. My issue with the skins, they don't do anything. They don't add an element other than purely for looks. Yeah, dollar signs. And I think that's why I never really got into it. Plus, I was ass at the game. Excuse the language. I'm not being judgmental in any means about it, though, as far as the money being spent, because I did something similar. We're not going to talk about how much money spent. Yeah, agreed. But like I said, I'm not judging because I did something similar to another game. a mobile game back when mobile games were kind of first really becoming popular, and a lot of mobile games were through Facebook or linked through Facebook. There was a game on there. We can thank Danny. You remember Dakota Fender for this one. Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff. It was kind of like one of those like Farmville type games, but you went through and you got all the different characters, people's homes, their businesses, and basically you built the town of Quahog. And you could play the game. It was free, but if you really wanted everything in that game, you were gonna have to pay money out for. I think the currency in there was the clams, and I never actually sat down and calculated how much I spent. But I'd say easily $100 a pay I would drop on that game. And I played that game for, I'm pretty sure, almost a year maybe. Like I remember like Valentine's Day events, Halloween events, Christmas events, and and paying extra money for the clams or whatever. There was another form of currency, I think, to get everything that was available during that season. And yeah, so I mean, you think $100 a pay for probably a year. Yeah, I'm not proud of that one. I bought a Ram 1500 truck for like $20 for in-game LOL. What's like a vehicle to ride around within the game? That's funny. It's little things like that when we talk about cosmetics. Yeah. I mean, I know, everybody knows that, I still do, I guess, kind of used to play Destiny. It's got the cosmetic things and it still has the pay stuff, but I don't know that it's quite up there with games like Fortnite. It's not as popular as Fortnite, obviously, but yeah. So I think Durham has spent more than all of us combined. I remember some of those conversations. Would you say, if nothing else would make me feel better, would you say he spent over $1,000? Because if your answer is yes, that'll make me feel slightly better. As long as I'm better than Ethan, I guess that's all that really matters. Yes, but higher, way higher. Hopefully way higher. So, way. Yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, if you really think back, like on a game, I spent that much money. A free-to-play game, mind you. How free is it really? That's where they get you. Whew. That's a lot of money for skins that literally do nothing. But I'm not trying to be judgmental. We all have our own path. We all have our different things we throw money at. Me, I like to throw it on tech stuff. Temu, right? Some might see this as a waste, and it probably is, but I do it just to kind of change up the vibe a little bit. I buy mostly the battle passes. Yeah, but I had heard with Fortnite, if you play the game enough, can't you earn enough to actually buy the battle pass every year? When OG Fortnite came back, he was still buying stuff. God only knows how many skins he has, or how many are even probably in the game. Hundreds, if not thousands. There's always something. Like I would almost imagine there's nobody, unless there are, these heavy big streamers, has every skin in the game, or all the different gliders, or whatever. So I always bought the battle pass by earning from the season before. That's what I heard you could do. I remember when the boys used to play, that's what they would do, because I was not about buying V-Bucks. Don't really have much of a choice with Connor, because that's really all he's into. Is just that's all he wants is V-Bucks. If I gave him $100 worth of V-Bucks, I'd probably be the best person in the world to him. But so if you're joining us, or catching, whether it's live or catching us kind of after the fact, this is Bargain Brand Wellness. We're a live stream show / podcast, that streams live, 3 maybe 4 days a week. We're kind of new. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitch. Probably too many places, but I'm kind of just spreading out to get our wings out and see who we can touch with the wind off of our wings, or the wind beneath our wings, I guess I should say. So we're having fun over here. We've had fun on Facebook, the first 3 streams, but I wanted to breach out, onto YouTube and see what we could accumulate. P-Hub, maybe, I don't know. Maybe undress a little bit and see what happens. Did you get your name out there on Grindr? I'm sure you would be a big hit, probably, with this long flowing hair and my drip, probably. Joey, I'm pretty sure based off your profile picture, you got the Grindr account. Oh. So, no, we're over here having fun. This is a wellness channel where we talk about all things wellness, right? Mental health wellness, exercise, food, family, relationships, everything. Quite honestly, anything and everything can become wellness. We're talking about video games a little bit right now. I said this on what's today, Wednesday? I said this Monday on our stream, right? How can you fit video games into wellness? Hey, what do you do to kind of decompress after a long day when you go home? For most men, the answer is I play video games. All right, let's talk video games. Probably won't be the usual content, but it's something that a lot of us can talk about, especially some of my guy buds, and maybe we're starting to notice a little trend. I know there's only 2 of you on here right now, but maybe YouTube is the place for the dude vibe, because I will say with the exception of Joey, right, our Facebook vibe has been mostly feminine, right? And don't get me wrong, I appreciate y'all being there. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? I've never been much of a wrestling guy. Years and years ago, I'm talking Hulk Hogan, right? Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the narcissist Lex Luger. I never really was watching during the Rock's time, Stone Cold Austin's time. Would an erectile dysfunction episode be in the future? Yes, that could be. That could fit into wellness. With this one, it'll probably be more age appropriate. Well, I don't want to say age appropriate. I don't know how you really make that that age appropriate. It won't be the same vibe as what we had before. Not necessarily more from the dark humor, right? I can relate to that. What the erectile dysfunction part? Listen, bud, it happens. It happens. Right? Got to get that Blue Chew sponsorship. Hey, maybe. Right? This, you got to figure, even though this is a cleaner podcast or show, whatever, we're kind of figuring out what our vibe is. It's still adult. Right? So, we definitely will not be having the same top content that what we did on our old show. RIP again. I'm done crying now. I'm just joking. I did almost cry a little bit a couple times. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's funny. You guys are talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson wrestling. It's funny, Danny, because on our next show, I actually had planned a reaction video to some of the dumbest wrestling moves to ever exist. I had a video, but I'll be honest, I didn't write them down. You guys, if Danny, I know you'd probably know some of them. I'm just talking about those dumb finishers that our old show. It hurts to say the name. That's all I'm saying. It hurts to say the name. The dumb finishers that, the normal moves that you see in a wrestling match would do more damage than these supposed finishers. Even take something, I'm a big Hulk Hogan fan. Even taking Hulk Hogan's leg drop wouldn't be all that, it's not going to be the end of the match. Our old show, say it. I don't know if I can. I really don't. Because I'll be honest, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying the old show. And you know what? I think why I'm kind of doing this. It kind of fits in with what I'm doing with work. Because we're rolling out this new program, this new restraint program, I've been forcing myself to not say CPM And so when I say this in training, I say, unlike our other program, I've been trying not to say CPM because I want to try to get the CPM language out of people's minds as much as possible. The people's elbow, yeah. The Rikishi booty in your face, yeah, exactly. These were those finisher moves that ended a match. Even Mankind's thing where he put his fingers down your throat. Granted, that would make someone tap, but I'm like, really? That's your move? Some of them were really stupid, and even fans of wrestling would have to admit CPM causes PTSD. LMAO. I will say, although, all right, Danny, this one's for you, and Ethan, if he ever checks out my new show. Although the Brothers Chatter podcast is no more, that doesn't mean that Dr. Professor has to go anywhere. So you can use that as a little bit of a teaser for maybe future shows. Any of our fans of the old show, if you've ever seen Dr. Professor or you've seen those old shows, you'll know who I'm referencing. But Dr. Professor may still make a return. You know what? I thought about it. I actually put all that work in that sign. I love the sign, and it works. So I'm not going to get rid of Dr. Professor. And it kind of fits in with this, right? I can bring science into this and still apply wellness when we talk about, health and wellness, right? What food's good for you, or vitamins and supplements, all that kind of stuff. It was me and Durham's idea. LOL. Well, it's not copyrighted. It's my character. What do you mean? Don't get rid of your alter ego. Yeah, we'll definitely still do Dr. Professor. I consider, because I have gear, some of my other characters that I've either done TikToks on or characters I was working on. I haven't really decided if we're going to bring characters into this show. I almost thought, maybe like, our Twitch streams, right? Or TikTok streams could be maybe something with a character of some kind. I'm not going to lie. I'm Weekend. We made you. You sound like the lady from Maximum Overdrive. We made you. I feel like that's how you meant that too. Great movie. Very underrated cult classic. But yeah, I don't know. I thought about, maybe, characters, for like maybe weekend streams. That's what you were going for. Good. See, hey, we know each other. Characters might still come in. I am going to have guests on. To start off, I'm going to be honest. I haven't decided when or how I'm going to do it. I might do this for a little bit, just me. And then I might just put it out there on Facebook to people I know. Is anyone interested in being a guest on the show, joining us throughout? And we're just talking anything wellness, right? However they want to apply it. It's family friendly, good vibes, right? Off brand and on point, right? So we're talking. So we got on this whole kind of rant because we were talking about, connecting with your children. And for some of us, especially in the world of video games, I know this doesn't just apply to me. In the world of video games and Fortnite, which feel, it's not going anywhere. How to connect with your kids, play Fortnite with them. I take that same approach. I apply it to other things, like let's say Snapchat, right? I've had Snapchat for years. I've had my Snapchat before my teenagers had Snapchat, but it's kind of a great example of how to connect. Kids use Snapchat to communicate with each other, and I've noticed this. I need to reach out to one of them. I use Snapchat. My wife needs to reach out to them. She uses regular text message. Which one do you think they respond to first? Not surprisingly, the Snapchat. She'll call, she'll text, and from her perspective, I agree. I think that they should answer. I agree. But if I need an immediate answer, I go to Snapchat. Very rarely, unless their phone is dead or for whatever miracle reason they don't have their phone on them, I I can get a hold of them pretty quickly. Right? I can get a hold of them. I mean, it's within minutes usually. So it's faster and more modern. Exactly. So yeah, Joey, I don't think that'll happen. I can't even get her to join, even just to give us a like. But that's okay. We're getting ready to record our next kind of topic. We had a nice little conversation there about video games and whatnot, and I do appreciate the two of you being here. This would be a lot harder if I had nobody to talk to. Snapchat was created for nudes. LOL. I mean, is that really what it was created for? I didn't know that. I mean, I guess so, because the pictures aren't meant to be saved, right? And if you screenshot them, it tells the other person, and you have to save everything in chat if you want to save a picture. So maybe that is true. I don't know. I did not know that. Exactly. Maybe you're right. All right. Let's get ready to record this next piece. Let's do it like this. We'll start from this screen. All right. Here we go. Parenting isn't about control. It's about coaching. Here's the thing. Controlling your kids sounds great until they learn how to use sarcasm and door locks. Then suddenly, because I said so, stops working, and you're Googling what constitutes as child abuse. Control is short-term, but coaching builds long-term skills. When you make every decision for your child, you train them to doubt themselves. Micromanaging might get compliance, but it doesn't build confidence. Coach-style parenting says, here's the playbook, let's walk through it together, then you call the play. Failure isn't the enemy, shame is. Letting kids fail in low-stakes situations teaches them resilience. When you rescue them every time, they miss out on learning how to bounce back. It's not about protecting them from falling, it's about being the kind of coach who says, get me back up. I'm right here. The root of the word discipline is disciple, also known as student. You're not raising a criminal. You're raising someone who's still learning. Offer alternatives to punishment that still hold accountability are reflection time, role play, and problem solving together. Coaching corrects behavior by building skill, not fear. If your child only behaves when you're around, you've trained them to fear, not to think. Coaching creates thinkers, and thinkers grow into people you'll actually enjoy having at your Thanksgiving table. As we said before, why pay full price for self-care when the Bargain Brand Wellness has you covered? I read a book recently, and it was an e-book. I can't exactly remember what it was called, but it talked about power struggles with teenagers, and I think that was another one that kind of helped me shift is some of these elements of control that we kind of hold on to sometimes, especially with kids. But yet we all know that control is a construct. It's not real. I mean, you can control so much with kids, but when it comes to teenagers, they're not in your presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They go to school. They hang out with friends. They go spend the night at other people's houses. So they're not always going to be around you, and that's okay. Most of the time, you don't usually want them around all the time. It's that fear that they're going to do the wrong stuff, right? Because of anything you might have done. Honestly, I think for a lot of us, the worse we were as a teenager, the more we fear that our kids might do some of the same stuff. So it's kind of us putting our stuff or projecting our stuff on them. And I don't want to say we all do it, but a lot of us do it. Not unintentionally, right? We're our purpose is to keep them safe, but doesn't always work out the way we'd like it to, right? Kids are rebellious. Kids got to figure things out for themselves, right? As we said in the video, kids have to learn to fail. It builds resilience. That's how they get up. That's how they do better, right? So something to kind of keep in mind. I know, Joey, I know you've got young ones. How old's your oldest? I want to say pretty young. I think your girl's your oldest, right? Didn't you? I think you said she's a cheerleader. So you'll be at that stage soon. I definitely felt like this control really applied to the teenagers a little bit, 10 and almost 4. So yeah, your 10-year-old, if you haven't experienced yet, she'll go through that realm, some kids transition into teenagehood, I guess is the word I want to use, teenagehood, better than others. The big thing is making sure kids know that they have your support, no matter what. Kids will do the right thing. That's something else I've learned. If you've given them the tools, most of the time kids are going to do the right thing. They don't want to disappoint you. Even at those times where it feels like they want nothing to do with you, they hate you, they've told you they hate you, they still love you, right? We all say things in the heat of the moment that we don't really mean. So they still want your approval, right? And I've seen that in well-adapted kids. I've seen that in traumatized kids. It looks a little bit different depending on the kid, but they still want approval. It's just how they go about getting it can be the difficult thing. So we're over here having a good time. It looks like Danny might have popped off. Got to get them kids to church. It goes a long way. It really does. I started going to church just a few years ago after my dad passed. I'd been wanting to go for years, but we all make excuses. Wasn't able to find a church that I really wanted to, because my experience with church as a child, boring. I sent a comment. I'm sorry. Okay, so here's the thing. I pull up participants. You're here now, but when I looked just a second ago, it didn't have your name on. I'm still here. Glad you're still here. But so I wanted to get back into church, and then it just so happened after my father passed, my mom started going back to church, and I started going with her. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on my church. I don't dislike it. I don't know. I think the third is my channel, Bargain Brand Wellness, which why it lists that as a viewer makes 0 sense to me, but whatever. I don't want to hate on the church, but it is a lot of older people. It's not exactly what I would consider fun. Not that church is supposed to be fun. But also, I always was looking for something more engaging, right? I always said there's some churches, that people go to, and it's like, man, they have a great time. Like they're happy to be there. And then there's some churches, it's like moping, and it's almost like people are in mourning. And so you can come to my church. It's in Centerville, like 10 minutes into PA. I wouldn't mind church shopping, to be honest. Yeah. I wouldn't. I think the only hard part for me is I know my mom likes going to church, and not that I necessarily have to go to the same church as her, but I hate to kind of dip out on her. But the biggest thing that's kind of been helpful is Reagan goes to church with me. Not every week, but she goes to me whenever she can. Baptist is a lot more lively in church. For me, it's really the sermon, like the message, right? I don't want to feel like I'm in school and I'm starting to fall asleep. I want to feel like I'm actually I'm getting filled with the Spirit. But I do agree, Joey, raising kids that go to church, starting them off at an early age that they grow up in and with the church is a recipe for success. Not saying that all kids, even church kids don't experiment and do dumb stuff. All teenagers do. We did the same thing. Let's not be so judgmental on them. We try to steer them in the right direction, and hopefully they come out healthy on the other side, more well-adjusted, which is kind of the difficult part. Because I say, let kids experience stuff for themselves, but at the same time, some of those experiences can end up having poor results, right? So, let's take, for example, a teenager decides he wants to go out drinking with his buddy. 17, we'll say 18-year-old high school senior, right? Just had his 18th birthday, wants to go drinking with his buddies. Sounds great, right? We've all done it for the most part. And we hope that we've raised them it's one thing. I can tell you not to drink, but it's up to you whether or not you're actually going to do that. Just for the love of God, do me a favor and do not get behind the wheel of a car when you do it. And they can sit here and say, "Oh, Dad, Mom, I would never do that. I know better. You raised me right." But you start getting a couple drinks in you, your inhibitions start to go away. You get the midnight munchies. Not that a lot of places are open as late anymore since COVID, but I'm thinking, 10, 15 years ago when you could go to McDonald's or Taco Bell at 1 o'clock in the morning, the munchies hit. Oh no, I'm not that drunk. I'm good. Bam. And they might run that experience. Maybe they get pulled over, right? Maybe nothing happens, right? Or, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but let's say they get a really bad car wreck and something bad happens. That experience that might be that last experience. So I say let kids experience things for themselves, but at the same time, it can also be scary because that experience might be their last. And like I said, I'm not trying to be morbid with that. I'm just trying to be honest. So it's scary, right? I know, Danny, I know you're a boy. I know Caleb's, and he's an adult, right? He's 19, right? He's 19 now, right? Yeah. 19, about to be 20 here soon, experiencing things for himself. He's done his own fair share of dumb stuff, as we already know. Of course, he is your son. No shade on that one. But yeah, we try to teach them the best we can and hope that they do the right thing. Right? And hopefully they turn out to be well-adjusted adults. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Either way, it's outside of your realm of control. Right? That's something else I've been dealing with my anxiety a lot. I learned that by giving him rules about drinking with friends, he doesn't want to drink as much as I did. And listen, dude, reverse psychology goes a long way. I can say the same thing for Jeremiah, right? Not that he doesn't, but he knows I'd rather you tell me you're doing it and know that you're safe, because that's the part you want to do. It's the drinking with your friends. It's not the having the car with you. You're not taking a car with you. I'll drop you off, or you have someone come pick you up. He doesn't go out of his way to hide it. Yeah, no. So you and I kind of have a similar experience with that. I tell you what, let's turn back to now a little bit, talking about control here. I'll give you another great example, Danny. You just kind of triggered my memory with that. When do you guys think it's an appropriate age for kids to drink coffee? He's always been honest with us, and he never takes his car. Good. Because he doesn't feel the need to. You're not trying to stop him from doing that thing, so he doesn't feel the need to. But when do you think it's an okay age for a child to start drinking, or never? Maybe adults, right? I know for myself, coffee at any age. So a 5-year-old. Screw it. I don't know if I'd go 5 years old. But anyway, the reason I'm saying that is, I started drinking coffee when I was the age of 16. At least that's what I remember. And I remember when Jeremiah was kind of coming up in his teenage, kind of rebellious years. He, you'd say 16 too. He really wanted to drink coffee. I think he was 14, wanted to drink coffee. And I'm like, when you're 16, you can drink coffee. And we had this conversation numerous times over the course of between the ages of 14 and 15. And the same thing I just came back, why can't I drink coffee? And it wasn't about the coffee. It was about the control that I had over him. Until I was in therapy, and I started thinking to myself, Why 16? Because I started drinking at 16, so what? That's the golden age. Like, I started in my own mind, it was like, well, that's what the perfect person does. If I didn't start drinking until the age of 16, that's when he's going to start drinking coffee. And we're not talking alcohol, we're talking coffee. I started realizing that I'm holding onto this arbitrary number for, as we just talked about here, control. Do you think coffee is addictive? I don't know, because I don't drink. Yeah, the caffeine is addictive. I've been a coffee drinker since the age of 16. I don't think that I've ever went a day without a cup of coffee. I was drinking decaf for a short period of time. But yeah, I think I don't necessarily think coffee in itself is addictive, but the caffeine in it is. What about soda then? Same thing, caffeine. Now, but there's also that level. There's also an addictive level of habit, you know, like the fizz, sugar, or whatever it might be, that we just become accustomed to. But it's primarily the caffeine is what you get addicted to. But so I started thinking about this arbitrary number of 16, and that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna throw some bait out there, because mine and his relationship wasn't really in the greatest space during that period of time. And right before he turned 15, I said, you know what? I changed my mind. You can start drinking coffee. He was so excited. He started making coffee. He started doing the mocha swirls and getting the caramel syrup. And it wasn't even coffee. I don't even know what you would call it. But he started doing all this stuff. And then within probably, and it wasn't even every day, within probably a couple months, was done with the coffee. Didn't really want to go after it. Every once in a while I'll see him make a cup of coffee, but I would say this kid, he doesn't even really like coffee. I'd say maybe once or maybe a couple times a year he'll get a flavor cup of coffee from like Starbucks or Dunkin', something like that. The same thing with energy drinks. I don't think energy drinks are good for you. But when I realized, same thing, letting go of that hold, like, listen, everything in moderation. You can have an energy drink. Like, I'll buy you an energy drink. I just don't want you sneaking them. I hardly ever see them drink the energy drinks anymore. Hey, I probably, because I love those Alani News. I know they're not the greatest thing for you, but, that's my little, I don't drink alcohol anymore. That's my little, not every day, but that's my little occasional little treat for having a good day. Occasionally they'll have one of those, but not really. They don't really drink the energy drinks anymore. And it all came back to control. Once I wasn't trying to control them anymore, they didn't want those things that I was telling them they couldn't have. They wanted it only because I was telling them they couldn't have it. So, not having caffeine after about 20 hours gives me a headache. Yeah, if I went a whole day, I don't even know if it would take me 20 hours. If I don't have coffee by the next day, probably late morning, I'd probably have a headache. Energy drinks are crack for millennials. Don't hate on them. It's just they're not really great for you as far as, the increase in heart rate because of all the caffeine in them, as well as some of the other stuff. I'm not hating on them too much, because I think anything in moderation is okay. If they weren't that good for you, like if they were that terrible for you, they wouldn't put them on the shelf. The problem is that people overindulge in this kind of stuff. That's like Steven always offering me those pouches. Like, I have no desire to do it, so I start something I may get addicted to. Well, and especially you're at an age now where you can say no to that peer pressure. That might have been, and I don't know, I didn't know you when you were younger, Joey, but that's a little easier to say now. When you were that teenager, that might have been a little bit harder to do, because it's like, let me try. I was the same way with smoking cigarettes. I always grew up saying, I'll never smoke. That's disgusting, and I can't even stand smoke. But I had friends that smoked, and one day, the summer between my junior and senior year, we were out hanging out, and even though I turned them down, they didn't pressure me to smoke. We were in a car, we were having a good old time, vibing, listening to music, and I said, you know what, give me one of those. And I fell in love. And it was the worst thing I ever did. I haven't had a cigarette in almost, I don't even know how, it's either 4 or 5 years. I've lost count at this point. I'll never smoke again, but I still miss it. I would I would love to have a cigarette, but I won't do it because, first off, the price. I'm not paying $10 for a pack of cigarettes. That's crazy. And I'm a pack a day smoker. If I started smoking again, I'd be back to a full pack by the end of the day. And that vaping stuff that other people, I can't, no. I don't want flavored smoke. I want cigarettes. You know, so it wasn't even, like I said, it wasn't even peer pressure. It was just that thing you're not supposed to do. Zero sugar surge. Ooh, that would be good. That would be good if they ever brought that back. You know, I do like the zero sugar sodas, right? That they are really good, you know, and I know I was talking with someone earlier today about, you know, sucralose and aspartame. They talk about how those artificial sweeteners are terrible for you. And that's when I realized I had to do a little bit of research. They are bad for you. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not true. However, they've done studies. I don't have anything to link here. It's just research that I've done for other things. With aspartame and sucralose especially, the amount you would have to consume would be the equivalent of basically drinking like an entire case of soda in the course of a day. That's how much you would have every day to reach toxic levels of sucralose. And it's almost the same for aspartame, not quite as much you would need. It's still pretty bad. But with sucralose, yeah, it's not good for you. Stevia is actually better for you. But in the small doses that most of us get, you know, for me, most days I drink one can of soda a day, maybe a second one, but that's really the most soda I'm getting. So that little bit of sucralose or aspartame that's in that, it's not really doing any damage to me. Yeah, Coke Zero is way better than Diet Coke. I love Coke Zero. Cherry Coke Zero is my favorite, but sometimes I like just a regular Coke Zero, especially if it's a fountain one. So good. So good. I'm looking forward to more and more restaurants adding Coke Zero, because I've noticed, at least any McDonald's I've been to, McDonald's has the best Coke, yet they don't have Coke Zero. I find that very odd, but are there any other effects that aspartame does to your body? So they've linked it to cancer. Some have even said that, you know, although it doesn't have calories like sugar does, it still can cause you to bloat and still can cause you to develop belly fat because it triggers your brain into thinking you're drinking sugar. And that's just BS, because that's not the way the body works. A substance can trick your brain into thinking it's sugar, but if there's no sugar, your body can't turn that into sugar and then store it as fat. There's nothing to store. It's 0 calories. So it's mostly the myth of that it'll increase your belly fat just like sugar will. So I always advise people to kind of do their own research on it, but if you do look, try to find academic or scholarly sources, you know, from medical websites, magazines, right? They won't steer you wrong, and check multiple sources. But yeah, in low doses, it's really not. There's really no effects to it. I drink those Great Value flavored water packets. I'll go through a gallon a day. Yeah, I've done the water packet thing. Not a big fan of them. They're just kind of, yeah. I'm kind of, as my taste buds are shifting since I got away from sugar, it hasn't, I haven't really felt the need. You know, I do my water throughout the day. I do my black coffee in the morning. I usually drink 2 cups, but if that second cup goes down pretty quick and it's still early, like 10 o'clock, I might make a 3rd cup. And then it's water for the rest of the day. You know, if I went to the gym around lunchtime, I usually do a protein shake that I bring that's 0 sugar, right? Same thing. It's got sucralose in it. And then after work, it's water. I usually drink water with dinner. I might have one of my Coke Zeros, chamomile tea, 0 sugar sweet tea, or I've even become accustomed to just drinking unsweetened tea. Now that I've kind of got the sugar out of my taste buds, I don't mind some of this. This chamomile tea right here has nothing in it. I used to have to put honey in my tea, but really the only bad thing here is that I've been talking so much, it's kind of gotten a little warm. It's not really hot anymore, but it's still, yeah, it's still fine. Unpopular opinion: ice and milk is awesome. I've never done it myself, but I've seen other people that do it. What's the vibe there? Like what makes it so good? I've never tried ice in my milk. Watch those Great Value drink packets. They have a ton of dyes in them. Not good for your brain. Yeah, the dyes, right? We can talk about that on a future episode. The red 40s, right? They're really awful for you. I just like the ice cold milk. Okay, it just makes it nice and cold. Okay, I mean, I get that. I mean, I guess that does make sense. Warm milk isn't really the greatest unless you intentionally warm it up. You know, I've seen some people do that to help them sleep at night. I've never done it. I don't know if I would like that hot milk, but I've seen people do that. So, all right. Oh wow, it's 9:30. We're actually gonna run it a little over an hour, but that's all right because we got good vibes in here with my brother Danny G and my good friend, my biggest supporter so far, Joey. Appreciate you being on here, buddy. So we're gonna get into our next little segment before we wrap it up. We got one more short segment we're gonna record. We'll kind of finish up with our kind of recurring segment, which is called Off-Brand Thoughts. It's kind of our hot take of the day, which kind of is either it kind of is tying all three of our segments together, or you know, just a hot take based off of something that we talked about throughout the day. So let me start our record, and here we go. Kids have ears, but more importantly, they have eyes. And those eyes are judging whether you actually mean it when you say, use your words. You could give a TED Talk on how emotional regulation works. But if you lose it when your coffee's wrong, guess what your kid's learning? Kids soak up nonverbal communication, tone, body, language, facial expressions. What you model becomes their blueprint. Behavior is caught, not taught. And my buddies might recognize that saying. Your kids need to see that adults mess up and clean it up. Normalize saying, I was wrong, or I shouldn't have yelled. This teaches humility, accountability, and repair. An apology from a parent doesn't shrink your authority, it upgrades your humanity. When your child is melting down, the last thing they need is someone matching their volume. Co-regulation. Your calm becomes their anchor, right? Or grounding in a shifting moment, right? Or deep breathing. Watch your tone. Parenting isn't about getting perfect. It's about showing up, staying soft when it's hard, no pun intended, and being willing to grow right alongside your child. Bargain brand effort, full price for love. So we're just talking about modeling for your child. You know, it's really hard to kind of preach to your child about getting angry when they see you get angry. Right? It's really hard to get mad at your kid for lying when they see you lie. You know, especially for some of our, you know, maybe not so good role models. No judgments. Just keep that in mind. Your children mirror everything you do. Almost everything. So while we're finishing up, I think it's because I grew up having a bowl of ice cream with milk on it. So you'd have a bowl of ice cream with milk in it. Okay, different. Nothing wrong with getting angry, though. It's a normal emotion. Danny, I'm glad to hear you say that. And I wish you were still kind of with DJS to have had the DBT training. It is normal. And let me put this in context. Anger is a normal emotion, but let me ask you this. What purpose does anger serve? It serves a purpose, but I want to know if either of you can kind of tell me, what purpose do you think anger has? I say something to you and you get angry. What purpose is that serving for you? Some deep level thinking for 9:35 on a Wednesday night, but we're going to get there. To release steam and to get your point across. I like that answer. That's a good answer. The ultimate purpose, though, is that it kind of is your way to kind of validate yourself, to let you know that some unjust thing has been happening to you. Some wrong was done to you. That's why you're angry. The problem with anger is how you react when you become angry. So if my reaction every time I get angry is to start throwing stuff or breaking stuff, how can I then get mad at a child for hitting someone or breaking stuff when they get angry, when all they're doing is simply mirroring what I have done? You can be angry, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have that same reaction. You can get angry and you can simply walk away from the person, right? Just do not really have much or of anything to do with them. It can be very helpful. Sometimes you might have to let off some steam, right? You know, because if you hold it in too long, it's going to boil over and you're going to take it out on the wrong person. But it's learning how to do it appropriately, right? Professionally, if you're talking about within your job, right? Knowing when to walk away and knowing how to handle that situation. Most emotions only last about 10 seconds, probably less. But just like a fire, emotion needs fuel. And that fuel is the thoughts that you're having, right? You're ruminating on whatever that thing might be, or other people might be continuing that emotion. But the initial response to that emotion usually only lasts a couple seconds. But once you can get good at emotional regulation, that reaction lasts a much shorter period of time. You can simply, I'm angry. Maybe I need to walk away for a couple minutes. I come back and I didn't respond inappropriately, right? Takes practice. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means, because trust me, I still get angry. I still get emotional from some time to time, and I have to find my own ways to regulate. And a normal brain kid, sure, but throw in ADHD. Is that ADD or ODD? Anxiety or depression. It's a whole different experience. Exactly. And that's where DBT comes in, right? That's where that kind of therapy comes in. It can kind of help. It's typically meant for borderline personality disorder, but it can be very helpful really for anything, because there's a lot of different skills that you can utilize, and they're meant to be ADHD friendly as well. A lot of ADHD kids. It's oppositional defiant disorder. I couldn't tell if that was an O or an A, but yeah, it's oppositional defiant disorder. A lot of ADHD kids benefit from visual supports, and DBT is very visual friendly as well. Whatever. Well, there's a difference between obsessive and oppositional. Just saying. All right, so I think I'm going to record our off-brand thought. Let me move over to this screen just to kind of have the logo up there. Because I'm thinking I might turn these off-brand thoughts into a TikTok, because these are simply just one slide. I've been trying to figure out, like, what do I want to turn into a TikTok, because I don't know how much some of this stuff is really going to fit as TikTok videos. But maybe these will, as we try to experiment with a little bit. Tomato, potato. It's tomato. Starting to sound like Ethan over there. What are you drinking? Our off-brand thought of the day: children are tiny mirrors. If you don't like what you see, it might be time to clean your reflection. What if you interrupted your child just as much as they interrupt you, emotionally, energetically, or with your phone? Are we coaching our kids or just repeating the emotional habits we were coached into? We say we want emotionally intelligent kids, but are we modeling apology, regulation, connection, or just control, fear, and how to shut down? Half the time, we're mad at our kids. The other half, we're mad at how much they act like us. Bargain brand wellness. Why pay for self-care? So that's a quick little one. It's my say. I've never heard you say that. Tomato, potato. I've never heard you say that. I mean, I like it. That's a clever one. It's kind of hard to read over chat because I don't really know where you're placing the emphasis. But it's clever. I get mad at my kids on how much they act like their mom sometimes. LOL. Okay, that's a different way to look at it. It's not so much how much they act like you, but how much they act like your other person. So, I mean, I didn't bring Nova with us today, but we could kind of dive into that. So, is it so you're upset that they're acting more like her? Is it the fact that they're acting like her and she's the problem, or is it a jealousy because they're not acting like you and you want to have more of that control as the man of the house? I'm just making a guess. My kid acts like me and it's all mom's fault. It's our mom's fault that Caleb acts like you? I will say they did spoil him a little bit, but he is the only daily basis. On a daily basis. Ah, okay. Listen, Dan, I considering the way you were as a child, I think you lucked out. Granted, he's had his issues. But if I'm being honest, I think you lucked out. You got a good kid. It's just the way they talk, I think. So what? It's the sound of their voice? I don't know. I get so mad. My kids act and talk just like my wife. It's just the sound of their voices drives me up a wall. I will say, at least on YouTube, I can see when people pop in. I really haven't noticed anybody coming in. It says we've had 9 views, though. I have to kind of pull it up on the side, but it's been pretty consistent with us. I guess Steven only joined for a little bit. It's the way they communicate words. LOL. Words are hard, Joey. Words are hard. Your one's only 4. Give him a break. All right. All right, we're going to wrap this up, I think, for the day. We're going to do a little bit of a closing. Danny, thank you for being here. Right, Joey, thank you guys for being here. We're going to be live again on Friday, same time. Possibly different place. I don't know. I had hoped to get a few more people in here, but I do appreciate the both of you. You're not talking about him, LOL. I get it. You're talking about the ladies. I listen, I get you. I'm there with you. Not quite sure where we're going to be at on Friday. I don't know if we want to come back to YouTube. Do we want to go back to Facebook? Might even do TikTok on Friday. I don't know. I was thinking Friday might be a TikTok vibe. But we'll play it by ear. For our Facebook friends that didn't make it over here, listen, no hard feelings. Hopefully you can catch us again next time. This episode I will, once this is uploaded, which I think it'll automatically upload to YouTube, I will make sure to share it over there, so feel free to watch it at the end. We're making these small little segments we're doing. They're their own little 4 or 5 minute recorded clips. Check those out. Give them a like for me. Anytime I put content on some of our other platforms, make sure you do that as well. Bargain Brand Wellness after. I was thinking about that, but I'm like, if we do an after dark thing, like, is that maybe more like in the inappropriate stuff? I really don't want to hit too much on the previous stuff that we did before. Just because it got some views, but not as much as I would have liked. And I can only talk about penis so much. So, but all right, let's do our little closing and get out of here for the evening. Once again, I love you guys. Thank you guys both for being here. Joey, I'll see you tomorrow at work. And that's a wrap on tonight's episode. Whether you're nailing this parenting thing or just surviving on juice boxes and sarcasm, remember, connection beats correction, and showing up matters more than showing off. Thanks for being here with us at Bargain Brand Wellness, where self-care is on clearance, love is full price, and we're just a bunch of wellness warriors trying to keep it together without duct taping our emotions. Like, comment, subscribe, or just send this to another parent who needs to hear they're not alone in the chaos. And as always, make it worth your wellness. Love you guys. Love you. I'll see you on Friday.